Hey Zoomers, welcome back to World Zoom. So happy you could join me again today. Hey, yesterday I followed your advice. You said if you're traveling around the US, give us a video on the area that you're at, and just let us know where you're traveling and what's going on. Normally I get, 1,000 views in the first couple hours, at a minimum. I think that thing's sitting at 500 views after, 20 hours or so. So it was a super bomb. But that is really what I've experienced in my couple years on YouTube, is that my channel really is about Southeast Asia. And, I've tried different videos. I did Vegas and did Los Angeles. I think I even did one in India, if I'm not mistaken. And those they're just not for my audience. So I'll stick with what I know best. And, if I happen to be in a city and I have the time, I still enjoy doing the videos and I'll do that. But, the Orlando one was sort of a disaster, and I thought there was some good information in it. So today I was going to talk about why folks seem to be choosing Thailand over the Philippines. This is a topic that's been discussed periodically on YouTube, but hopefully I have some inside thoughts about having spent quite a bit of time in both places and forgetting about what's recently happened. I mean, I'm still a fan of the Philippines. I'm not a fan of the government of the Philippines, but I certainly am of the people. It reminded me yesterday when I was thinking about this video of how often do you hear somebody talk really negatively about Thailand. I mean, there can be a side comment or, why someone is leaving Thailand or they've had a bad experience. But I don't know. It seems the people that dislike the Philippines are 10 times more than those that dislike Thailand. And I wondered, why that was. Some of it's, fairly obvious, probably to all of us, what makes the Philippines tick. The Filipinos are a lot more Americanized than what a lot of us would imagine. They spent too long around the U.S. military, and you can just see that rub-off effect on some of the citizenry of the Philippines. But and this isn't a video to bash the Philippines, far from it. I mean, there's a lot of great things there, but it's really a video of what's new, in Thailand and what's going on over there, and just how much of a change, how easy it's becoming to be able to put down your roots and be able to live there. They're gone are those days that you really had to do, all of those visa runs to Malaysia or to Cambodia or to Laos, or fly out if you wanted to. You can find ways around those now with certain kinds of videos. And we talked a couple days ago about this new destination, Thailand visa. One of the major holding points, I think, of that is just the money that you have to have in an account, but it doesn't have to be in Thailand. So it's 15,100 US dollars. But come on, guys, if that's really the thing that's holding you back, and I don't mean the dollar amount, but if that's the thing that's holding you back, there's so many ways around that. Just Google that or look online about the possibilities of different agencies that are willing to help meet that 15,100. I'm not necessarily saying that's the route you need to go, but if you don't have it, right, but you still have a monthly income, and you yourself, you're a grown man, you know whether you can afford it over there. So maybe you don't, maybe you've got $4,000, right, or $5,000, but you have a steady monthly income. There are ways to get yourself over there on that visa. I've heard they're going to start checking a little bit more on whether you're actually in the programs. I remember some of the programs before, like Muay Thai, some of the Thai cooking, Thai language, some of the ones, they actually many years ago did a check to see if these long-term expats that were there on the educational visas were actually involved at all in the educational process. And what they found is some of the folks that had finished that program, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they were just renewing. But it is a straightforward visa, and I think that's one of the things that is really beneficial now. It's forever been labeled as one of the most difficult visas or the whole process to be able to get in Southeast Asia. So now that they've at least alleviated some of that, extended to 60 days followed by another 30, some additional available visa opportunities that are there. I mean, that's pretty exciting to the long-term expats that don't have the retirement visa or are just not retired, not old enough. There's a lot of younger expats that are in Thailand that you don't see as much of in some of the other videos. There's a new guy in Cambodia called Tom Trips Out. So first name Tom, Trips, Trips Out. He's doing, I think, a pretty good job. He hasn't really caught on yet. He's a school teacher, and his main gist of his program is telling you about how to be a teacher or how to end up in Phnom Penh or Siem Reap or Kampot, and what do you need to do that, how to get the educational, how to be a teacher. I mention that because the similar type of folks that do the same thing in Thailand, one of the, they have cracked down a bit on needing of the bachelor degree versus being non-degreed. Still, you can get a job in Phnom Penh without a degree. Thailand's getting more and more difficult, or you're getting in more and more rural areas, but there's just, as the middle class continues to expand a bit in Thailand, the desire to speak English, which isn't natural to them, like the Philippines, is becoming more and more the same, obviously, in China and South Korea, where the language is just, it's really amazing how much of the growth and, if mainland China wasn't such a difficult place to live, I think there'd be so many Americans there, because the job opportunities, if you want to be in education, are just really endless. So we have these new visas that are in Thailand that is now going to make it on equal footing, maybe not with Cambodia, but certainly equal footing with Vietnam and with the Philippines. The housing, people talk a lot about the expense of the housing in the Philippines, and I agree that it is pretty low, and you can get, especially compared to Canada and the US, Australia, you can get a pretty unbelievable property in the Philippines. But I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, you can get even a better property, really close to the ocean in Thailand, almost anywhere. Now, if you set up in Bangkok or Chiang Rai, you're not going to have the ocean. You're going to, in the north, you're going to get the mountains and sometimes better weather, although the air quality is pretty bad up there when they burn the fields. But if you choose like Wu Hen, Cha Am, or on the other side, Pattaya or Jom Tien, man, I mean, honestly, you can get a nice 1-bedroom, 1-bath for $200 a month, a nice one. And so, that's just hard to wrap your head around. I mean, I'm older, right? So I remember the rents being not that low, but I remember them being pretty low in the US for 1-bedrooms. Now, if you're in Indianapolis, for example, you're at 1,000. I was looking here in Orlando, it's $1,400 for a 1-bedroom. That's sort of a questionable area. If you're out in California way, you're looking at, $3,500 and up in the San Francisco area. Seattle is, $2,500. Just unbelievable prices, especially when they say you need 3 times or even 4 times of your income to be able to qualify. But in Thailand, if you happen to have the money and you have the money for the deposit, which is usually just 1 month, so let's say you need $400, $500 at the tops. I mean, you can have that spot, right? You can have that place, and that's just with all the things that that country offers, to also have cheap housing is amazing to me. I know a lot of you aren't golfers, but in the Pattaya, for example, there's got to be 20 to even 25 golf courses in driving range. Some, like Siam Country Club and some of the others, are high end, right? You're going to spend 75, 80 bucks to play around. But some of the ones, especially if you're going out with the bars that have a golfing group, and so you get in with those guys and they post for 3-4 times a week to go golfing, and they rotate the different clubs and they meet at the bar and go golf, and then oftentimes they come back to their bar for their festivities after. But that's a great way to meet a bunch of people, and you can sort of golf without much pressure. You have a handicap, or shortly after you get there, and it's just, they negotiate some really fine rates on your behalf. The sports club there in Pattaya especially, but they're all over. But it is nice to just have a built-in group of friends, someone that knows where you're going. They know the course, they know the players. There's always restaurants in there to eat afterwards, and for the awards and things. So that's just a fun day if you happen to be retired. If you do that a couple times a week, you can cover a lot of ground doing that. So back to the housing, it's pretty remarkable, whether it's a villa or a condominium, what some of the prices that we're seeing. There's a bit less of the Chinese that are there in Thailand, and I feel there's a bit less of the Russians, just a bit. I mean, it's still dominating some areas, but the left behind of that is a lot of empty places, to be able to stay, and that's certainly a nice thing. I mean, most people talk about Thai food being the best food in Southeast Asia. I would tend to agree with that. It certainly has a remarkable range of flavors and spices. And so if you're even adventurous, at all, then, you can have some fine meals, in Thailand. I just recently here had Gai Pad Mamawang Himapan, which is cashew nut chicken. Oh my gosh, that stuff is so good. It just happened to be a Thai restaurant, but you can get the authentic stuff, in country. But there's a lot of Thai restaurants here as well. But the food has got to be a check mark in the positive. I don't know what you think about the Filipino food. I find it very unhealthy and a little bit bland. Now, don't get me wrong. I like pork as much as the next guy. I love lechon, and I enjoy some of those meals. But there's not much to eat, and it's certainly far from healthy, which is why we've seen the mass explosion of diabetes, cardiovascular issues, and obesity in the Philippines. So food, I give that a big thumbs up. Now the Philippines, Vietnam, they've got great beaches as well, but it's hard to beat Thailand for the beaches of Southeast Asia. Now Indonesia is pretty unbelievable also. But Thailand, almost anywhere you go, I even prefer the Gulf side over the ocean side, the Andaman Sea side, which is like Phuket, for example. There's so much to do on the Gulf side, whether you're on the Hua Hin, Prachuap Khiri Khan, the Air Force base there, Cha Am, on that side, or the other side has your craziness of Pattaya and Jom Tien. But Bong Saray, all the way up and down the coast there's some pretty good places to be able to stay. And not very often are you going to find a spot that it's not really good to go in the water. I still don't like to swim on the beach in Pattaya, but you can take a boat over to the island and make like a day of it in that water over there after just a 30-minute ride on a ferry boat that costs almost nothing, leaves right from the pier, back and forth. So, you can do it inexpensive. There's all the services that you need on the island to stock up and have your meals and your snacks and the sunscreen, whatever it might be that you need. So the ocean is a huge deal. because there's so many tourists that are there, you also have all the accompanying things that go with the ocean, whether that be paddle boarding or jet skiing, or scuba diving, snorkeling ventures, those kind of things, which are nice, So, and lastly, I'll just talk about the ease of travel. Most of Southeast Asia is pretty easy to get around. I don't know if I necessarily recommend, a motorbike in a lot of the places in Thailand. I certainly don't in Krung Thep in Bangkok. But in Hua Hin, and in Pattaya even from there, I mean, you can get pulled over. So just make sure you have the proper documentation. So sometimes when they see that Falang face, the white face, you could easily get pulled over in these places. But whether it's by minivan or by you renting a car, which is a bit expensive, or you owning a car, you going on your motorbike, it's pretty easy to be able to get around. A SkyTrain there is very straightforward, and within a couple trips, you'll have that thing down, the exchange stations and those. So anyway, just wanted to talk up Thailand, not talking down any of the other places, because I am a fan of all the other places. But let me know what you think about Thailand, whether I missed a negative that's there, and if you agree with me on some of the positives. So I'll see you in a couple days from World Zoom. Appreciate you. See you soon.